Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Mate. Today we are very fortunate to have. Sorry. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Mate. Today we are very fortunate that we have His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu with us, and not most of us, I think everyone knows his glories, but still, as a matter of duty and for my purification, I like to say a few words about him. What I know from the social media and by the devotees. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, he is a very senior devotee in our ISKCON, very senior disciple of His Holiness Radhan Sai Maharaj, and he has been traveling around the world for last several years, and he is not traveling simply; he is traveling very extensively. I read his profile that every year he travels more than 100 cities, and that means every third day he is in a different city, right? And then he gives more than 400 talks every year. That means every day he is giving at least one talk. And apart from that, one of the most famous thing is that his daily Gita talks, where he writes about 250 to 300 words article on one of the verses on Bhagavad Gita, where he shares his realization reflections on Bhagavad Gita. And he has written more than 4,000 articles so far in the last several years. He has written several books, I think about 27 books he has written. And he doesn't preach to the normal devotees congregation, rather he goes to the assemblies of the very highly intelligent people, like he has been to Microsoft and so many other companies, I don't remember, but he is invited by all these very highly intelligent people whenever there is a talk on the spirituality and religion and all. And apart from that, he serves ISKCON in various capacities. He is the assistant editor for our Back to Godhead, very famous magazine. So very fortunate to have him in Abu Dhabi, particularly in our house. He has visited our house a few years back when we were in the villa, and we had a very good association and opportunity to serve him. So today again we are very fortunate to have him with us, and we will be hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from him. And before that, we would welcome him by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times with love and devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Chaitanya Prabhu ki jai.
Mahatam Bahumanena Manukampaya Chaivatmatulyeshu Niyamena cha. So look at the meaning and then we'll recite it again. So Mahatam are the great souls. Bahumanena, give great respect to them. Then Dinanam, those who are fallen souls. Anukampaya, be compassionate towards them. Then Maitriya, be friendly towards Atma Tulyeshu, those who are one's equals. And all this, do it Yamena and Yamena. Sure. That means under the guidance of scriptural rules and regulations for one's own behavior and for social behavior. Mahatam Bahumanena Chaivatmatulyeshu Niyamena cha. Bahumanena Chaivatmatulyeshu Here we this together 3 times together. The pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with persons who are his equals. All the activity should be executed under regulation and with control of the senses. Purport. In the Bhagavad 13th chapter, it is clearly stated that one should execute devotional service and advance in the path of spiritual knowledge by accepting the acharya. Acharya upasanam. One should worship an acharya, a spiritual master, who knows things as they are. The spiritual master must be in the disciplic succession from Krishna. The predecessors of the spiritual master are his spiritual master, his grand spiritual master, his great grand spiritual master, and so on, who form the disciplic succession of acharyas. It is recommended herewith that all the acharyas be given the highest respect. It is stated, Gurushu Narmati. Gurushu means the acharyas. Narmati means thinking like a common man. To think of the Vaishnavas, the devotees, as belonging to a particular caste or community. To think of the acharyas as ordinary men. To think of the deeds in the temple as being made of stone, wood, or metallus contained. The standard regulation. One should offer the greatest respect to the acharya according to the standard regulation. The devotee should also be compassionate. This does not refer to those who are poverty-stricken materially. According to the devotional vision, a man is poor if he is not in Krishna consciousness. A man may be very rich materially, but if he is not Krishna conscious, he is considered poor. On the other hand, many acharyas such as Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami used to live beneath trees every night. Superficially, it appears that they were poverty-stricken. But from their writings, we can understand that in spiritual life, they were the richest personalities. A devotee shows compassion to those poor souls who are wanting in spiritual knowledge by enlightening them in order to elevate them to Krishna consciousness. That is one of the duties of a devotee. He should make friendship with persons who are on an equal level with himself or who have the same understanding that he does. For a devotee, there is no point in making friendships with ordinary persons. He should make friendship with other devotees so that by discussing among themselves, they may elevate one another in the path of spiritual understanding. This is called Ishtagoshti. In Bhagavad Gita, there is reference to Bodhi and Mahaprasthana, discussing among themselves. Generally, pure devotees utilize their valuable time in chanting and discussing various activities of Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya among themselves. There are innumerable books such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads, which contain countless subjects for discussion among devotees or men. Friendship should be cemented between persons of mutual interest and understanding. Such persons are said to be Swajati, of the same caste. A devotee should avoid a person whose character is not fixed in standard understanding. Even though he may be a Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna, if his character is not correctly represented, then he should be avoided. One should steadily control the senses and mind and strictly follow the rules and regulations. We should make friendship with persons of the same standard. Namaste. Namaste. Saraswati. Devi. Bhagavani. Acharya. Vadi. Pratideshapadi. Panchakalpatarunasya. Vipasindhu Devasya. Pradhanam Pavanebhyo. Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Veda Anand Vipasindhu Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Grateful to be here with all of you today to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Beautiful altar. There. So today, the Bhagavatam was talking about one of the key principles of bhakti, that is about relationships. So if we consider a devotee, generally we think of what does a devotee mean? A devotee means one who is devoted to Krishna. This is our devotion. And of course that is important. We give our heart to Krishna. However, that alone does not characterize it. Because bhakti is by its very definition about relationships. It's about a relationship with Krishna, but it's also relationship.
Yeah, just online.
It's also relationship of with those related with Krishna. And who is related with Krishna? Everyone, isn't it? Krishna says that I am basically Pitahamasta Jagato Mata Dhata Pitama, that I am the father and the mother of all living beings. So he says that he is Bija, he is the seed giving father for Aham Bija Padaha Pita. 14 says that. He is the seed giving father of everyone. So we could say all the people in this world, we can characterize them into three levels. There are those who are above us, those who are equal to us, and those who are below us. So this verse is telling that our devotion needs to be expressed through the appropriate relationship with all these three people. So those who are seniors. So Antam Bahumani. No. So for them, there is respect. Those who are our juniors, for them there is compassion. Dinana and Kampaya. And for those who are our equals, what do we do? Maitya Chatmatulyeshu. For them there is friendship. And then the basis of this is, we also understand that every one of them is actually connected with Krishna. Now, they are all related with Krishna, just as we ourselves are related with Krishna. And the purpose of relating with them is so that Prabhupada says, one of the founding purposes of ISKCON, that the purpose of ISKCON at one level is to bring all living beings closer to Krishna and closer to each other. Closer to each other and closer to the prime entity Krishna. If I am here, the other person is here. So I have a relationship with Krishna, I have a relationship with the person, and that person has a relationship with Krishna. So the best relationship situation is where by our relationships, what happens is we go closer to Krishna, the other person goes closer to Krishna, and we come closer to each other. you could say doing this is one of the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's outreach, Srila Prabhupada's movement. Bring us closer to Krishna and closer to each other in relationship. So now this will happen in different ways for different levels of practice. That when we are trying to practice bhakti, our elders, our seniors, Mahata Bahumane, great respect to them. So these three relationships are talked about, but the point here is of Yamin and Yamin. So what is the reason for rules and regulations? Because it is rules and regulations that are required so that actually this relationship is maintained. So Yama and Niyama. And the word Yama and Niyama have many different meanings. Sometimes it is said that is do's and don'ts. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is that individual rules for one's own function. Like say cleanliness is an individual rule, but gentle speaking, say not cursing, polite speaking, that is a collective rule, social rule. So Yama and Niyama can refer to both individual rules, like Brahmacharya, Satyasaucha. These are rules which are given in the Yoga Sutras for Yama and Niyama. So basically the idea is Yama and Niyama, the rules and regulations will ensure that our interactions with others will also keep us connected. Now in any of these relationships, we talk about three extremes. So this whole presentation will be more in terms of diagrams and explanation of those diagrams. So we'll talk about respect and then kindness and friendship. What does it mean? And how it can work for us. So when we are relating with someone, then what say when we are relating with Krishna and say let us be relating with the Guru. It could be our Shiksha Guru, it could be our Diksha Guru, it could be the Guru, the corporate Diksha Guru, basically our seniors. So if we consider in each of these, there could be two extremes. One is if we got respect for elders. Now, if we consider only Guru, I am connected only with Guru and I don't care for Krishna. I offer profuse respect to the Guru, but I don't see my Guru's relationship with Krishna. Then what happens is, then this will become a personality cult. So there are so many celebrities on social media, some people have millions of followers. And people are mad after them. But then that is not going to elevate them. Because they are not seeing that person's connection with Krishna. So there is no Krishna consciousness. And if we don't see that our Guru is connected with Krishna, their respect is only for Guru. And the problem in that is that, okay, there's a personality cult, we become very narrow-minded. Narrow-minded because we don't see that, okay, Krishna has empowered my Guru, but Krishna can empower other Gurus also. That can lead to a very, so in this personality cult, basically, there are two problems. One is narrow-minded. Narrow-minded because one starts thinking, my Guru alone is the greatest and there is no one else. Now, yes, my Guru is the greatest benefactor for me. That is perfectly valid. In fact, that should be the feeling of a Guru. There's no one who is greater benefit for me as my Guru. But that does not mean that for somebody else, there cannot be another Guru who is their benefit. So, when you become narrow-minded, that means essentially we talk about fanaticism. Have you heard this word fanaticism? Who has not heard about it? So, what does fanaticism mean? You may think somebody takes guns and goes around shooting people, those are fanatics. Well, yes, that is definitely a fanaticism. But fanaticism essentially means a principle that we are all actually vulnerable. Hare Krishna. So fanaticism essentially means what works for me. So what works for me, that is wonderful. Follow it dedicatedly if something is working for you. But when we start implying that that is the only thing that can work for anyone, that is fanaticism. What works for me, this will lead to dedication. Yes, my Guru Maharaj's instructions are inspiring so much to me. Hearing his lecture makes me feel close to Krishna. But fanaticism means when from there we extrapolate. Extrapolation, you know, sometimes in maths we have a graph. Graph goes to a particular point, from there we draw. That's extrapolation. So, when we extrapolate, this is the only thing that can work for everyone. That is fanaticism. So, one problem with seeing our Guru separate from Krishna, it is Krishna who is empowering my Guru, and it's great. But Krishna can empower some other Guru and elevate some other person, inspire some other person. So, one problem with seeing the Guru separate from Krishna is fanaticism. The other problem is over-dependence. What happens when the Guru is no longer available? When the Guru is no longer manifest? If we have not connected with Krishna, then we will just be lost. Unfortunately, that's what happened in the history of our movement after Srila Prabhupada departed from the world in 1977. Between 1977 to 87, in 10 years, almost 90% of Prabhupada's disciples left the movement. Now, there are many reasons for that. It was not just a personality, but there's one thing that was definitely a big factor. So, unless we see our Guru in relationship with Krishna, every morning we see the Vande Guru Shri Charan, we sing the Samsara Davan prayers. But if you see, each of those prayers is about the Guru in relationship with Krishna. In each of these prayers, what are we being told? How the Guru is devoted to Krishna. So, we always need to see the Guru only in relationship with Krishna. On the other hand, we can go to the other extreme. And somebody may say that I'll offer respect only to Krishna. That, okay, why do I need a Guru? Some people say that, okay, why do I need somebody to come between me and Krishna? I'll have a direct relationship with Krishna. Okay. So fundamentally, this has a misunderstanding. What does the Guru do? The Guru actually, some people think, comes between us and Krishna. That's what their accusation is, their feeling is. But actually what the Guru does is removes whatever comes between us and Krishna. The Guru gives us guidance, and what is between us and Krishna? It is not the Guru, it is our own arthas. It is our own lust, our own anger, our own greed. And the Guru guides us. Okay, how can you remove all this? So this is what the Guru does, is the Guru never comes between us and Krishna. The Guru removes whatever comes between us and Krishna. So why would one, if we are really serious about connecting with Krishna, then why would one not want the guidance of someone who is really well connected with Krishna, who can help us connect with Krishna? If somebody will say, I have a very great respect for Krishna, I don't care for Guru, then the result of this generally will be sentimentalism. The person may one day feel very devoted to Krishna, and next day, no, I don't feel any connection with Krishna at all. The Guru will tell you continue practicing. So it is in between is Guru and Krishna. We see respect the Guru, but we respect the Guru as a representative of Krishna. And this classic example is Samsara Davana. So in these prayers, what do we see? That actually it is the Guru is being offered respect, but the respect is being offered to the Guru as a representative of Krishna. You will crowd it over. Separate diagrams, okay. So this is the first point. If you have only Guru, respect only Guru, that is a problem. If you respect only Krishna, that is also a shortcoming. You respect Guru. Mahatam Bahumani, great respect. Why? Because they are close to Krishna and they can take us closer to Krishna. So that's the first part. And the second part is we discuss Dinana Anukampaya. So this is kindness or compassion. Now, when we are talking, so here the key principle is respect as a part of devotion. Bahumanena, we are saying that this is all about bhakti and how we can grow in our relationship with Krishna. So respect as a part of devotion. Then you can say compassion also as a part of devotion. So compassion towards others. Now here also two extremes. We can be connected only with people, or we can stay connected only with Krishna. Now if we are connected only with people, that means we don't see people's relationship with Krishna. We don't try to connect people with Krishna. Then the result of that compassion is that compassion is incomplete. And sooner or later, it will become ineffective. That means that when we are trying to do something for someone, why is it incomplete? Because they are not just the body. Their body, mind, and soul. We are helping only their body, not their mind and soul. So everybody is poor and giving them food is very kind and selfless activity. But there are many countries which are welfare states. And where you could say compassion is secularized and institutionalized. That means their idea is we have nothing to do with God. So these countries, when there are welfare states, their idea is that anybody is not able to, it doesn't have a job, doesn't have money, then the government will provide it. So there what they are trying to do is compassion. They do two things to it. It's secularized. What does secularized means here? Sorry? Okay. Yeah, here it means that, but what that's true. Secular is respecting other religion. Secularized means basically disconnected from God. That's got nothing to do with God. That's the idea. So secular in the Indian context often means non-sectarian. But practically speaking, secular has come to mean non-theistic. Because non-sectarian is the state should not promote any religion. The state says, I don't care for God only. I don't care for God at all. That is secularized and institutionalized. Institutionalized means, okay, if you don't have money, you go to this office you show that you don't have any job, show this, and then show that you are living, you have this much family or you have this many things, whatever, God will pay. So when this happens, it's incomplete because even if people's bodies are taken care of, people don't just live on bread alone, on food alone. So often such people, they end up, they get the money, but instead of using the money for food, they use it for drugs. Because food just gives some relief, drugs give some excitement, some high. And there are many people who just take money. This kind of compassion it can be very harmful. It's ineffective. So for example, what has happened is that in the Western countries, there are a lot of broken families where say people get married and they get separated. Or sometimes there are single mothers. So single mothers means that woman either did not get married but got pregnant, or she got married and now she's separated, so she has to take care of children. And the government says that, okay, we will take care of them. And yes, if they have children to take care of, they need to be taken care of. But the best way to take care of children and mothers is by ensuring that the family stays intact. not that the state becomes a substitute husband. So what happens because of that is, when something like this happens in society, then basically in today's world, it's like for, especially in America and Europe, for a woman to be a single mother is actually more easy than to be a married mother, financially speaking. The single mother, the government will provide so much support. There's one devotee couple, they called me from America and they said that they had a child, and the child had some like severe, something like Down syndrome. And their insurance was not covering. They said that my doctor was very kind, doctor was very helpful. They said, no, your child is curable, but he needs treatment. Your treatment is not covered by insurance. Treatments are very expensive. In America, they call it healthcare is health scare. So it's extremely expensive. So this is the doctor said, so what can you do? So the doctor said there's only one thing you can do. Let's get divorced. Which is why? Because if you get divorced, then the mother and the child will come under separate health insurance. And that health insurance will cover the child's treatment. So now they were calling me, should we get divorced for our child's sake? It's a horrible predicament to be in. So they planned that, the doctor said in 2-3 years they will get treatment and the child should be better. So 2-3 years they want to get divorced, and 3 years after they get reunited. So that is really going to happen or not? So actually, if the state will offer support, it is kind of breaking families instead. So now this is just relatively a better scenario. But many times, at least the family wants to come back to it. But sometimes, when compassion is not seen without being seen as a part of God's plan, then that compassion cannot really help people. Somebody is an addict and we give them food. Okay, they say, I don't want food, I want money. They'll use money not to feed their belly, they'll use it to feed their addiction. So it is not very effective also. So we need to see that it's not just that I am helping, it's actually God who is helping through me. There is an atheistic charitable organization, and their vision is what? Their slogan is God in double quotes. God sends disasters, we send relief. So this is demoniac compassion. No, you wonder how can compassion be demoniac? Compassion should be kind. But it is compassion done with a demoniac consciousness. What is their slogan? God sends disasters. Now, God doesn't send disasters. It is because our own karma, the cause of distress in this world is very, very difficult to understand. But ultimately, we understand God is the one who is protecting us. He's our well-wisher. We send relief. If somebody starts thinking like this kind of compassion is not only unconnected with God, it is actually further disconnecting people from God. And this kind of compassion is not very effective. And on the other hand, if somebody says that, I just care for God, I won't care for Him, then that will make the person hard-hearted. Hard-hearted means a person will become very cold. A person will, I may say I am devoted to God, but that person can't see God in people. God can't, you can see God only in the temple, but you can't see God in people sometimes. You can't see that everybody is connected with God. See, even if a person is materially suffering, Krishna doesn't want anyone to suffer in this. Even if it's one's own karma because of somebody suffering, Krishna doesn't want anyone to suffer. And if we have the capacity, we should try. No, we don't want to just give food, we can give prasad. Devotees can offer material help, but in a spiritual context. That's what Prabhupada's Food for Life program was. You know, we give food, but we give prasad. If we don't do that, we'll become hard-hearted. And once we become hard-hearted, what happens is, see, there are always people who are in need in this world. And people who are in need, if we don't take care of their needs, then they will go to whoever takes care of their needs. And that is one of the main reasons, and if you may be aware, in India, a lot of conversion is happening. You say, oh, Christians are converting so much. Yeah, that is true. But why are people getting converted? It is quite often they are in need of help. And if they go to people of their own religion, they're not giving help. Then they go to somewhere else. So their idea, criticism is that, oh, Hindus build such big temples, but they don't care for them. And Christians say, our God tells us to care for the poor. And Krishna also, he says, Suhrudam Sarva Bhutana. Krishna says that if you see the Bhagavad Gita's progression, 5.29 is, Krishna says he is the well-wisher of all living beings. Suhrudam Sarva Bhutana. But then what does he want for us? In 12.13, he talks about this is Krishna. And the devotee that can win Krishna's heart, the devotee that is dear to Krishna, Krishna says, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam Maitraha Karuna Evacha. So we should also be helping everyone. Maitraha Karuna. So as devotee, we see especially devotees who are in relatively financially well-to-do positions. Now we should also be compassionate. And if you see Maharaj Kranti Dev, there's a story of Kranti Dev and Shivi, both stories in the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, just before the 10th canto is come. And both of them, you could say what they are doing is material compassion. You know, it is no, there's no description in the Bhagavatam that when that person came with a dog, you know, Maharaj Kranti Dev was chanting Hare Krishna, otherwise I'll not give any food. It was not like that. He was a king, and he says, it is my responsibility to take care of people. This person is in my kingdom, has come to me for alms, I should help. But how did Maharaj Kranti say this? This is a text coming from Krishna word. And he was very Krishna conscious. He did not force Krishna consciousness upon others. But his very Krishna consciousness inspired others to be Krishna conscious. So when a devotee is helpful, seeing the devotee's helpfulness, a devotee doesn't have to forcibly preach to others. But just seeing the devotee's helpfulness will inspire others to also connect with Krishna. So, Dinanam Anukampaya. So, what we do in balance, it is people and Krishna. So, we care for people by seeing their connection with Krishna and by connecting them with Krishna. And if connecting them with Krishna, the first step required is that we take care of their material needs. That can be the first step. But that's not what we should be doing for the rest of our life. But we also should not mean that is something which we should never do. Many of our devotees are doing, Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj is doing tribal care. This amazing work is doing. There are so many people who actually would have just become lost from the broad Vedic culture. They are coming towards Krishna. And many other devotees, there is the Bhaktivedanta hospital where medicine and compassion are combined together. There is eco-friendly farming that can be done. There's so many things that can be done where it is material needs and spiritual good can be combined and developed. That brings us to the last part. The last part is one. Maitrya cha aiva atmatulyeshu. That be friendly with, especially our equals. So here the last part, friendship as a part of devotion. So if we can again go towards only friends. I care for my friends, but I don't care for Krishna. The other extreme could be only Krishna. I care for Krishna, but I don't care for my friends. Or I don't care to even have friends with him. Be friends with him. Now, what will happen is both of these are unsustainable. If we care only for our friends without caring for Krishna, then this friendship will become an attachment that will drag us down, that will degrade us. Our wanting to be a friend is good. And the classic example of friendship disconnected with Krishna, dragging somebody down, is Karna with Duryodhana. Karna was faithful to Duryodhana till the point of his death. He died for Duryodhana. But what was the use of that? It was because of Karna's friendship that Duryodhana was so adamant. He felt, I will be able to defeat. If Karna had been a real friend, would have considered what good is not simply dying by fighting in vain against the Pandavas. If Karna had accepted Krishna's offer, for example, Krishna said, come to your side. You are the eldest Pandava actually. You can be the king. And if he had done that, what would have happened? Duryodhana would have realized, I can't fight against the Pandavas. And in the war would not have happened. So much disaster would have been avoided. Karna himself would have avoided his death. So sometimes we may have friends, especially if we are just new to it, we are coming to Bhakti, and we have friends who have all kinds of unhealthy habits. If friends, they go for drinking, they smoke, maybe they have unhealthy habits. And if we say, no, I cannot give this friendship, this is such an old friend. Well, okay. Well, everything old is not necessarily gold. Yes. If you really want to consider old friendship, our oldest friend is Krishna. Isn't it? He's Suhridam. He's the greatest friend of all living beings. Now that doesn't mean we have to break all our friendship. Something old is gold, and something old will actually leave us cold. Isn't it? We go with a friend and we drink and then we get just out cold. What is the use of that? So if our friendship is disconnecting us from Krishna, Prabhupada says a devotee should not have such friendship. And that doesn't mean we have to break the friendship. Is it that? We can be friends, but don't ask me about this. This is what something I'm not going to do. Let's talk about other things. And even better is that we make friends with Prabhupada says Swajati. Swajati, now this is not a caste system resurrection. Jati Prabhupada is more about the same kind of interests, the same kind of desire, same kind of purposes. So when we have that, then we can connect very closely with peace. And this is vital, especially as we start growing senior. We may have our own group of people whom we are connected with. For them, they are our seniors. But then what happens is everybody needs, with our juniors, we always have to be very exemplary because our behavior is always being watched. But sometimes we need to lay our guard down and be ourselves and relax. If we have some issues, if we have some concerns, we need to be vulnerable. We need some people with whom we can be ourselves and accept friends. If we don't have friends, sometimes what happens is as we grow in our spiritual life, our equals, instead of being our friends, they start becoming our rivals. I did a program, 30 people came for it. He did a program, 70 people came. What happened? I didn't really know. So, equals, you can see them. So this is one extreme. The other extreme is if you connect only with Krishna, then what happens is we subject ourselves to loneliness. And even as devotees, we will be surrounded by devotees because association is important principle. We don't just need people who are around us. We need people with whom we can open our heart. Guhyam akhyati puchati. Prabhupada quotes bodhayantah parasparam. So when I go to America, I spend a good amount of time with Somas Giriraj Maharaj. Giriraj Maharaj stays in the Californian Carpenter area. And he's basically his service is talking to devotees. So he spends hours. So when I go to his place, I go sometimes in the morning, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. stopping various things. It's very kind. So then I asked various questions. So yeah, I also asked him, Maharaj, so when you meet with your equals, you meet Radha Maharaj, or you meet Chaintanya Maharaj, or Indra Maharaj, what do you talk? So why do you want to know? I just want to know what discussions you have on it. So he said, we discuss many things. One of the things we discuss is that when disciples glorify us, how do we ensure that that doesn't make us? Or if some disciples are not following the instructions, then how strong can we be? What kind of instructions can we give? What kind of instructions should we not give? Because every person has their life also. So what are we doing now? That they can't talk with their disciples. Right? And Prabhupada is not there for them to talk. So they need this kind of discussion. So now, many times on my website, the spiritual scientist, I answer a lot of questions. There was 8,000 questions that I've answered. So in many ways, I make a resource for devotees. They have multiple questions they ask me. So there are times when I don't have answers. But then I ask other devotees. So if my service is speaking, teaching, answering questions, then I need to have friends who are like equals in the sense that I can ask questions to them. As a teacher, I can't ask questions to students. Students are going to ask questions to me. I need a place where I can say, okay, I really don't know the answer. I don't know how to answer this question. How would you answer this? So we all need this. So without that, we can have a lot of loneliness. And loneliness, you could say, the least. Now, once we start seeing them as rivals, then we can't speak our problems to them. We can't speak our concerns to them because we'll start feeling, hey, they may exploit me. They may spread rumors about me. It is bad things. With whom the most painful loneliness is not when we are alone. It's when we are surrounded by people who don't understand us. When we are surrounded by people who don't understand us. So you could say loneliness. So there is just no one around us. That's loneliness. Say suppose we are caught in the desert, we are gone alone and our bike has broke out. We're going to make our vehicle broke down. And we are alone over there in the desert. Okay, somebody has to pass by over here, otherwise how will I go back? And even if we know some petrol will come and take us, but still, okay, how many hours can I be alone over here? Being alone is boring. It can be time. But worst form of loneliness is there is no one who understands us. One of my friends is a psychologist, and he told me that nowadays in the West, a lot of people see psychologists and psychiatrists. Now, it is not that those people see psychologists and psychiatrists because they are really mad. There are, of course, some people who are mad. People also see I have a lot of services. But in spite of that, just as we make time for sadhana, just as we make time for deity worship, similarly, we need to make time for bodhayanta or niyama. That's when it will be very nicely mounted. And Prabhupada says that the sixfold loving exchanges, he talks about. The sixfold loving exchanges these will nourish the life of the Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says, significant Prabhupada says this in Guhyamaka, which is that verse like Vishamra, that he's not saying that okay, distributing books and collecting money will nourish them. So making you people to go to the building temples and nourish. All that is important. But what movement is the sixfold loving exchanges. So the sixfold loving exchanges, they are all important. One of the now, for example, Prasad, this is an exchange that we do more than necessary. Very few programs where there is no Prasad. Most of the time we have to say, oh, no. Listen, so Prasad is not a problem. Gifts also, we give. If somebody's birthday is there or something is there, this is abundant. This is adequate. You could do more, but it's adequate. But this is especially sharing heart. So dadati pratigaranati guhyam akhyati uchiti bhute bhojayati. So heart, this is extremely insufficient. To do this, for this, the sixfold exchange Prabhupada says, they nourish our movement. They sustain our movement. This is food nourishes our movement. And so especially for doing this, we need to have friendship. So friendship is not just something optional I do, okay, whenever I have time. No, we need to see that this is what will nourish us in our life. And we need time. In that way, each one of us can holistically connect not just with Krishna, but connect with everyone in relationship with Krishna. So let's summarize what we discussed today. We discussed 4 points mainly. The first point was how our bhakti is not just connection with Krishna. Bhakti is also connection with those who are connected with Krishna. Krishna and those connected with Krishna. And those connected with Krishna are actually everyone. So then we classified them into 3 categories. That there are seniors, equals, and juniors. So we discussed about seniors. So by connecting with seniors, we can only seniors, only Guru we can have, or only Krishna. There's only Guru or only Krishna. So only Guru, then what will happen is we will become fanaticism. Fanaticism, narrow-minded, what it means is that what works for me is the only thing that can work for everyone else. Or there can be over-dependence, where if the Guru is not there, we just give up everything. If we have only Krishna, then there will be sentimentality. Because the Guru doesn't come between us and Krishna. Guru removes whatever comes between us and Krishna. So therefore, we need the balanced state. That is, we respect Guru because of their relationship with Krishna. So in all these relationships, we discuss the key principle is Krishna is here, I am here, the other person is here. So the ideal situation is these relationships bring us closer to each other. All come closer. So similarly, with respect to for the next one, we discuss about juniors. Now, with juniors, if there are, we care only for people and not for Krishna, then what happens is this becomes incomplete and it becomes ineffective. I discussed about the welfare states where compassion is institutionalized and secularized, and how sometimes families are broken in the name of compassion, or the atheistic charities where we say that yes, you can have demoniac compassion. God sends disasters, we send relief. On the other hand, if it was only Krishna, then what happens is we become hard-hearted. When we become hard-hearted, then people become alienated. We get alienated here. Then, for example, conversions can happen, where people go for help when they need to those who give them help. So we need to find an expert way to combine both others and Krishna. And lastly was with equals. If we have only equals, then what happens is then it becomes attachment, it becomes degrading. So the example for this was Karana. Karana and Duryodhana. And if you say, I'll only connect with Krishna, then the problem is, we get lonely and then we also become envious. So we need six-fold loving exchanges. And we consider balances, six-fold loving exchanges with everyone, especially the opening of the heart can only be with devotees, with friends. So heart exchange has to, for that we need to cultivate friendship. It is not just an optional part of bhakti, it's an essential part of it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any comments or questions?
When you talk about seniors, then juniors and equals, then can you repeat juniors and only Krishna? How does it relate? Because juniors only people is fine, but I just
No, but for example, if I say I won't care for my junior, I am practicing my bhakti, whatever happens, doesn't matter. People come to a temple, oh, I'll only worship Krishna. I don't care for the people who are coming to them. Then what happens is people feel alienated. So then what happens? People get alienated. We become hard-hearted. So then it doesn't work. Is clear? Yes, clear.
Thank you. So many times, for example, hearing lecture on this thing, there is a background perception that I got a little time. So we have relatives, you have got brother, sister, then you have got an office colleague, and the whatever day is there, you work, and whatever time you feel that you put it in devotional service. And then what will happen by, even though you don't want them to do, say calling the people in home, okay, who are separated. If we neglect them, then they feel also alienated who are not connected. Now, so how to optimize the things, or we can do even for this our devotee community. There are devotees like-minded, but we hardly get a time because the time available for us, we have to chat and we have to preach, and so exchange how to find a.
Yeah, it's difficult. We are all short of time. That's why this requires planning. Maybe we do it once a month, once in 15 days. See, anything that is important, we mark time. Similarly, we need to mark time. So now, also with respect to say staying with our relatives or staying with friends. So the thing is, we cannot do it with everyone. That's for sure. So we can decide. Some relatives, they're very close to me in the past, and they're not against my bhakti. Maybe I get in touch with them. Those who are against my bhakti, then okay. And I keep a distance from them. Similarly, among friends also, we may not be able to spend a lot of time with everyone. But at least with some people, we spend time. So even start with one. See, one of the keys to change is begin small. Just find one person with whom you like to spend time. And if that person is also interested, then let's plan once a month, we'll get together. Maybe we will discuss our realization and share our experiences. Even if you can spend half an hour, 1 hour, it's not that big a deal. So one of the keys is start small. Small means small in terms of time, small in terms of number of people. And then gradually continue.
Thank you, Prabhu. First of all, so wonderful lecture, I remember many of your quotes, one of the quote you told me that I will share with you later. But the kind of couple of questions and thoughts, one he already mentioned, and so what I see, Prabhu, that you very beautifully explained that Krishna consciousness is not only, serving Krishna, connecting with Krishna, rather connecting with the people who are connected with Krishna. So it's like, building up a relationship. And whenever you want to build up a relationship, you have to nurture the relationship. It's not, one-time connection, You one time you speak to the person and then it's done. Nurturing means it's a regular communication. And then it's a time. So now there are three kinds of people like seniors, juniors, and equal. And we deal with all these three kinds of people. Yeah, in our devotees community as well as, the non-devotees community. So again, the challenge is that, how to find the time, Because as it is, the material life is so busy. And the top of it, we have the spiritual life where we are committed to certain minimum things, like morning arti, chanting or reading one verse or blah, blah, right? And these type of programs. So what I see, Prabhu, that these are all good things, but when it comes to the practicality, somehow, I think you said about planning, so I'm not a good planner. But these things, not working well, Prabhu. And another thing, what we see, Prabhu, or I have experienced, that when it comes to the relationship, okay, we don't think about building the relationship, or that I should say about myself, that we have to build our relationship with Krishna. And when it comes to building the relationship, and you talk about the seniors, juniors, equals, we always think either in the devotees communities or the people who are outside devotees community. But in between, what we do, we forget our family members, and that there's some seniors in our family, the juniors in our family, and equals in a family. So what is happening in, I shouldn't say ISKCON, but what I've realized, the focus is only on either talking about Krishna, right? Or the focus is talking about the devotees, or the focus is talking about the people in the office and all. So very little talk about, how to deal with the seniors in the family itself, the devotees, non-devotees, the juniors in the family, devotees, non-devotees, and equals in our family, the devotees, non-devotees. So I just wanted to share my thoughts. It's not a question, but somehow the dilemma, predicament, whatever you want to say.
Yes, it is definitely a serious issue. See, I'll talk about two things first of all. Let's start with the family and then we'll talk about the communities. So our movement started in a particular way in history. That was more or less,
To say, when Prabhupada was there were two kinds of people primarily. There were Western disciples, and those were basically full time, they had moved to the temple. And there were Indian life members. Now, generally, we don't talk much about the second category because then very few of them became dedicated to this. At that time, they held Prabhupada big time. And Prabhupada was very grateful. Many of the temples in India would not have been built without temples. They did a huge amount of work. So, and Prabhupada appreciated it. It's not that in every conversation Prabhupada is asking, when I was sitting down the mat, when I initiated, when I moved the temple. Prabhupada accepted and engaged them where they were. So, this was during Prabhupada's time. Now, of course, what happened was, Prabhupada's focus was on creating dedicated devotees. He engaged everyone. Because devotees in the first generation were all people who lived inside the temple. And they practically had no social life apart from devotee life. And then there was also there's some devotees inside of the Prabhupada. They were married, but the husband were going to one city and was preaching there, the wife went to another city and was preaching there, just doing service there. Prabhupada said at that time, just see how dedicated both husband and wife are just like sannyasis. And then somehow that kind of dedication became the norm. But then, is that the way children can be raised? Would if that same couple had children, Prabhupada would have wanted them to live like that? Very unlikely. So Prabhupada wanted children to be. Prabhupada said the children who have come to Arulasa, they're Vaikuntha children, they're special souls and like everything. So the point is that particular way of living, where a person who lives like a full-time devotee, that became the norm. Because that's what happened in the first generation. But now if you see, most people now today are in between. They are congregation members. Now congregation members means what? There are three big differences. They have family, they have job, and they have a social life. They live in society. So their social life can be largely devotee life, but it doesn't have to be. They may live in a particular apartment complex and there may be some meetings over there. There's so many things like that.
So all these do need to be taken care of. So this was not there in the first generation. And because of that, more or less, their life was a monastic life. Monastic life means somebody living in a monastery, like a monk. But congregation cannot be expected to live like a monastery. Now, there are some congregations who may naturally want to live like that. That's fine. Can't shouldn't stop that. But we can't mandate that, for example, a devotee who has a job and a family, they should do the full morning program the way it's done in the temple. So in the temple, say it's 4:30 to 9 o'clock. If that's what you do, then there will be no time for anything else. When I will cook food, when I will take care of children, when I will do other things. And when I'm going to spend time with the children. You have to spend time with the family, spend time with the children. So basically, the norm that was set in the first generation, that cannot be the norm for the future generations. But that doesn't mean that as devotees we become like life members. Like your life members means you only do some donation and sometimes do some service there. That's also not. We have to find somewhere in between. So our movement is currently in uncharted territory. Uncharted territory means that it is territory which we were not there in the first generation. And how to tread this uncharted territory is a challenge that has to be navigated. And it shouldn't be seen as a sign of less serious devotion if a devotee is spending time with their family. It's important. And in fact, it should be seen as, okay, a devotee's family life is also a part of their service. Now we can connect.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So we consider family. If you have a devotee in family life, cannot have you cannot have a person saying I'll care only for family or I'll care only for Krishna. They have to have both family and Krishna. So now how exactly to do that? That each devotee will have to take individual responsibility to decide that, okay, how much time do I need to spend? And the devotees need to be given training so that they can be independently thoughtful. Prabhupada wanted devotees to be not independent but independently. Why independently thoughtful? Because each one of us is in a different situation. So, as one devotee in America, he is very dedicated. Out of service, he does is amazing. He's the co-president for one small center in America. He runs his own youth teaching. He's a counselor for many grahasthas. He is a devotee care coordinator for community. And he has a daughter with Down syndrome. And in spite of that, he's doing all this. And one preacher came to his house. And now he does service, so he is normally awake till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Then he wakes up and he chants. And one devotee came to his house and said, there are 4 days, and the only thing that devotee is saying, if you're not waking up at 4 o'clock, all your devotions will miss. This is completely shut down. I'm doing so much for Krishna. He said, I have to stop all my services if I have to wake up. Still chanting. So he was talking with me, telling him that, that devotee, this is also an example of analysis. Should we wake up in the morning? Of course we should. But we have to consider individual situations. If somebody's job brings them back at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, for example, tell them to wake up at 4 o'clock. Sometimes it's possible, but that level of sleep, that continuous sleep is inadequate for most people. Their health will get spoiled. If their health gets spoiled, then are we going to be there to take care of them when they fall sick? Maybe, maybe not. So, the point is, we need to train devotees to be independently thoughtful. Independently thoughtful means that how can I practice bhakti in my situation? Which standards can I follow now? And which standards are not practical? And if a devotee is not able to follow particular standards, that does not mean that the devotee has to live in guilt for the rest of my life. I'm not able to do this, I'm not able to do this. No. This is the situation I'm in, this situation I'm doing the best. So we need to encourage devotees and accept devotees. So this, one of my friends is trying to write a book on Prabhupada's pre-ISKCON life. One book has been written, but not much otherwise. So now it's very difficult because most of the people there are past. But one of the things he's told me is that if there had been ISKCON at that, most people or most ISKCON devotees would have been criticizing Prabhupada for not being a serious devotee. How often do you come to the temple for a morning? How often do you visit Guru and see Guru Maharaj? There are certain parameters. Prabhupada was dedicated his own way. But what happened is, when we reduce everyone to a normal, small figure, that is the problem. So independently thoughtful means, how can I best practice bhakti in my situation? So once we understand this, now this should not mean that we start compromising unnecessarily. See, ultimately we have to be honest with ourselves. So we should not, honesty in this context would mean that we don't equate, we don't see our situation can sometimes be a limitation. And that's true. So as somebody has a late night job, they can't take it. A situation, the limitation, it can be an explanation or it can be an excuse. Now, what is it that we have to be honest with ourselves? So, is it that in this situation, practically it's not possible for me? Or is it that I'm using the situation as an excuse to not do this? So, we have to be honest. But ultimately, devotees will be in different situations, and the situation will bring different limitations. So, we need to respect. And we can start with ourselves, we can start with the people around us. So, don't feel guilty if we have to say cut down on certain things which a devotee is expected to do, so that we can take care of our various activities. Taking care of our family is also one thing. It is a mode of service to us. We don't do that. One of another sad statistics for us, for our movement, is that more than 90% of Prabhupada disciples left. 90%, more than 90% of Prabhupada's disciples' children have left. You're not practicing. Now, what is the reason for that? Many reasons. But one of the key reasons is that the parents were never there for taking care of the children. And the children started feeling it is because of their bhakti that our parents are not there. So why should we practice? So of course, thankfully, many of them are coming back. So what happened is they found the social circle and there are many complicated situations. But the point is that would Prabhupada have wanted that if the children don't become devotee? We can't force anyone to become devotee. But we shouldn't force anyone to become a non-devotee. So we need to take. So I think each devotee has to be individually thoughtful by which they can understand in my situation which standards can and which standards I am to adjust. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, Prabhu, it answers, and you mentioned very well about the first generation devotees. And so, if I reflect back, if I reflect back, I came to Krishna consciousness in 1995, 96, and so the first generation devotees, and I think that has really affected seriously the second generation devotees. Because again, it's not a criticism, Prabhu, because he explained the background, what background Prabhupada set up this movement. But whenever we always heard about the, the devotion to Krishna, devotion to chanting, doing this and right. And we heard that if you serve Krishna, then all your responsibility fulfilled him. So then the thought started coming, okay, I'm serving Krishna, then why should I take care of this thing, and which was not good, Prabhu. And even I've been to ISKCON Leadership Sangha a few times in a lot of talks. And but what is missing, Prabhu, even now, and even in our weekly programs or any devotee comes in. So all the time what we see this about the devotion service. But hardly there is any talk about like dealing with the family situation, dealing with the family member, dealing with the family life challenges, and how to balance those things. And that's something I believe that need to be addressed. And otherwise, we are heading to a problem, Prabhu. Earlier there was a problem, and even now that problem is persisting because nobody talks anything other than devotion service. Whenever anybody comes to us, immediately what we think, okay, make him chant 16 rounds, get him initiated, get him come for Mangalarti, do this thing, blah, blah, right. Everything is devotion. And in between, we always forget the devotee, the persons, the background, the job, family life, family tension, other things. So the point what I want to say is, since you are in, and you share my feelings and you go around, and what I feel there should be some talk in the ISKCON where they educate the preachers about balancing the talks. Otherwise, anybody who comes, they would never hear that, okay, how you serve a parents, how should you find time for family, how should you find the time for the kids, like the devotees are sitting here. Have we ever had any talk from anybody, even from our devotees, about spending time on these areas? And what is happening, Prabhu, in this process, we lose our own family members. As you mentioned, that you are not spending time with them, like you mentioned, why we lost Prabhupada's disciples.
Yeah. See, regarding change, I would say that as compared to 10 years ago, the movement is definitely much broader. Things are changing. Naturally, they will change. Some changes are for the good, some changes are not for the good. But overall, there is gradual change. Generally, the best way change happens is more like bottom up rather than top down. That means top down means some leaders say do this, don't do this. Some people may do it as long as the leaders will do it. But bottom up means from a ground level, we see that this works. If we see a community of devotees like this, that is happy. Happy doesn't just mean how tall their dancing kids. Happy means actually that we are taking care of. Practical needs are taken care of. Everybody is living a balanced life. And they are practicing it. And once that example is seen, then others will take that example. So, in general, my understanding is that everybody is sincere in the sense that everybody wants the best for everyone. But not everyone takes into account. See, Prabhupada defined realization in a very specific way. So we should speak scripture with realization. So what does the realization means? So if this is scripture, and so these are the interests of the audience, interests of the people. So Prabhupada said realization means no meaning should be screwed out from scripture. But still scripture needs to be explained in a way that is interesting for the audience. So basically realization would mean that this. So scripture and people's interests. By interest, I mean not just like hobbies, but what are the concerns? What are things important for them? The speaking here is realization. So what happens is many devotees speak scripture only, but they don't consider the interests of the audience, interests of the devotees. And that is why they will be well-intentioned, but the results sometimes won't work. Sometimes things backfire also. So as our devotees become more and more realized, then things will. So scripture contains many things, but it's like
in one sense, a teacher, especially using a teacher rather than a scriptural teacher rather than a preacher. What is a scriptural teacher's role actually? It's like, in my understanding, it's like a pharmacist. So Shastra is like the whole pharmacy shop. Now, from the, you could say a pharmacist or a doctor, whichever one you want to say, that there's a whole array of medicine that is there. Scripture is like that. But which particular medicine to give to something? That is the expertise of the doctor pharmacist combination. Okay, what does this person need? So, if the doctor is simply giving one medicine to everyone, chance 60 chance 60 chance 60, that's important. But there are other things also important. So, what we need is scripture itself is like a medicine shop. So, which medicines to be taken? So, realization would mean that give you the right medicine, not just any one medicine, not just the fashionable medicine. So, understanding the needs of the audience, explaining accordingly, that is something what we need to do. And as we started individually, things will move. So, Prabhupada in his books has given resources for us to understand and reach the realization. What does realization mean? Realization means you understand what are the needs, interests, concerns, expectations of the audience, and you explain accordingly. Thank you very much. Granthra Shri Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Writing class. And I think this was one of the fantastic presentation. And it's such a wonderful way for doing explain actually. So it is really our very good opportunity. So probably we are published we can just say that there are 2 more series of lectures which we will be connecting with the one.
Yeah, sure. It's in the evening.
So Sunday, so today evening, obviously we have a guitar recitation which probably will tell. But tomorrow, Sunday evening and Monday evening, 2 days we have program at 7:15 p.m. where Prabhuji is going to speak, and on Sunday, Prabhu is going to speak on a very amazing topic about glories of Radharani in Bhagavad Gita, which I think even I don't know figured it out also. So it will be very interesting to hear on this. And then the last session will be how do we access love of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So I think it will be very nice. So please join and tell others also. So I'm in Kerala in 8 of Nata.
Chaintanya Prabhu ki jai.